Hey team, on today's episode of the podcast, we have the legend, Adrian Grenier, and we bust out a pretty wicked apple crumble. We also learn how powerful the power of empowerment is, and also how you are being a figurehead, I'm gonna say it, for preventing single-use plastic straws and now bottles, and what the rest of all of us can be doing about it. Thanks for coming down, bro. Yes? Coming up. Oh yes, sorry, it's actually the banana apple crumble. It's a game changer. Adrian Grenier, welcome to an episode of the Epic Table Podcast. You do not have to put that down, by the way. So for those playing at home, Adrian just to put down a beautiful bowl of Charlie Street keto, I guess, customized.
Yeah, definitely. I just don't know if chomping on food goes well on radio.
Yeah,
might make your audience jealous.
Yeah, make them get absolutely devastated. We're not here right now, but man, thanks for coming and hanging out.
Yeah, thanks for having me. One more bite, and then I'm going to put this down.
Okay. All right. Well, while you do that, I'm going to talk a bit about you. Most people would know you as an actor. I know you as a mate who's really just paved the way using your profile for, I think, just awesomeness, and also a really good cooker of a roast chicken. That's my personal experiences. But yeah, like I think what I was excited to chat to you today about was just, firstly, we're going to talk apple crumble, because we that's a connection we have. So you've seen an apple crumble made by myself, and you've made it at home for some guests.
Yes, I've inspired you, and now you've inspired me, and now I'm re-inspiring you.
Yeah, actually true, because you've rocked up here today and seen the ingredients and said, this is not my apple crumble. And you're...
But man, isn't that how love works?
It is.
It's just a reciprocal thing.
Yeah.
Ever ending.
Well,
especially around food.
100%, man. 100%. But yeah, dude. So a bit about you. Obviously, you grew up in New Mexico. Well, you were born in New Mexico, and then we know you as an actor, and we'll touch on that a little bit. But I want to know what got you into. I'm going to ask questions that really paved you for, the Lonely Whale and this fantastic organisation you're a co-founder of, and what really gets you going in that. But let's back it up a little bit, man. Like what after going to school in New York, which you raised by your mother, correct? Yeah.
I was enrolled in school. I don't know how much I went, but I was definitely enrolled.
And then from there, did you always want to follow acting? Is that kind of like what you wanted to do?
No. So, because I didn't grow up with my dad, this is my theory. I think I was maybe a little too much of a mama's boy.
Okay.
A bit soft around the edges, if you will.
Sure.
I'm not the man that stands before you today. I'm sitting, by the way.
He's got a busted ankle and he's still here. Such a legend.
But so, when it came to after school activities, I never really clicked very well in sports. I was shied away from like the real physical activity, but I really, really felt comfortable in tights.
Nice, man.
On the stage, I was like, this feels like the other players, the other thespians cared about my feelings, and they were, curious about ideas, and it was this sort of environment in which you could explore the inner world. And I was an introvert, and I was very philosophical. So instead of doing sports and all that stuff, I just started doing theater and putting on shows as early as 5th, 6th grade. And that's how I got my foyer into acting. But I never really looked at it as a career. I never thought of it as something I'd want to do to make money. And once it became an option, I really started to resist, because the idea of having to do it for a job felt like it took away the beauty and the essence of the art and the craft. And so I actually resisted for a long time, it as a job.
Sure. And do you find that that is something that I guess you had to battle for a long time? Like you had to overcome the essence of doing something for not what you purposely wanted to, but were compelled to do as a result of it's an income opportunity. Like, how do you flip that switch?
Well, you have to come face to face with real struggle, and realize that this is sort of what life is about. You have to work, you have to earn a living, you have to contribute to society, you have to give to your neighbors and to your family, and That's how life works. So after I dropped out of school, I decided I wasn't going to act and had to get a real job with actual hours that I had to show up and be present and wait tables and do whatever I could to make a couple bucks to pay rent. I quickly realized that there's got to be an easier way.
Sure.
So when faced with real financial struggle, I turned quickly to acting, which I knew very well, and I knew I could do well at. And in fact, the day I applied myself, the day I actually applied myself in acting, I got the role. So it was like, of course, just do what you're good at, people. Don't resist the universe.
So that's really interesting because a lot of people, talk about following their passion and doing what they really want to do, and I'm sure we'll come around to that a bit later in the episode. But you're essentially someone who's like, okay, well, early on, I found myself in something I'm good at that can pay the bills, and was that essentially the motivation for your responsibility at the time? Was that essentially what a lot of people would be like, I'm doing this because I want to, but you're like, I need to do this, so I'm going to do this for now. And did you think it would be a short-term thing?
Yeah, I mean, for better or for worse, I always did things my own way, which was often the hard way, much to my mom's chagrin. And I say it every time, my poor mother. I mean, she must have been, she must have been worried, concerned, and wondering where she went wrong.
Well, let's be real. Every mother thinks that.
Sure.
Every mother's going, what did I do to deserve? Why is my son in New York, not in Australia? What have I done wrong to not love anyway? But
right. Well, at this time, and of course, I thought that I had every right to do what I was doing, and I did, because that's what you do when you go become the man you're going to become. You step out into the world and you pave your own way. A lot of people, I think, prolong that moment, and they stay in shelter, and they go to college, and then they go to graduate school, and then they keep finding the safety of those institutions. But eventually you step out, and it's really scary and uncomfortable, and you make a lot of mistakes, and it's that suffering, and it's that sheer fear that's the best motivator to get your act together.
Yeah.
And it took me a little longer to actually get my act together, but I did get my first job, and that was great because it meant that I could pay rent. But then you know what I got into?
What's that, man?
Then I got into, let me do the bare minimum just to get by.
Oh, really?
On rent. And so I could do all the other things I want to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because I really just didn't understand the commercialization of acting. I just didn't understand it. I didn't get it.
Do you still understand it?
I understand it, yes. But I'm still not completely sold on that as a driver, as a motivating factor. In fact, when people come up to me and, I look, bottom line, I got lucky, right? I got very, very lucky. Despite myself, I found success. Despite myself. And that is, not everybody's that lucky. But when people come up to me, and think about it, how many people can say that they have a career doing what they love in acting or whatever? Not very few. And so I got very lucky. And when people come up to me and they say, young people, they say, how do I make it? I want to be an actor. How do I make it? They say often. And I ask them right away, I say, well, do you want to make it as an artist? Do you want to be a creative person and cultivate your craft and perfect that and tell stories and communicate ideas? Or do you want to make a lot of money and be famous? Because people come up to me not because I'm, I have a craft. They come up to me because they know me, because I'm famous. And it sets them back, and they always have to think about it. I say, you answer that question, it's going to change what you do and how you do it. Because if you're doing it for the money, you make certain decisions. You might sell out a little bit more. You might make some commercial choices. It's not about the art. But if you're doing it for the love, you could do that anywhere. You could do that in front of an audience of one. It's about the feeling and the manifestation depth and ideas and the human condition and but if you're making money, it's a whole nother story. I'm not good at the making money part. I said, no, I'm not.
Yeah, but I think what I've realized, knowing you the last couple of years, is you are art. Like, you are creative. You're doing a number of things right now with, being producer and artists themselves, helping them, grow where they are. You're seeing you creatively with Lonely Whale, and I don't see you as someone who's interested in being a mega superstar and for the reason other than you're trying to actually use whatever that you're passionate about and push the right message. I speak to you about straws all the time, and that's clearly coming from the heart because, trying to prevent straws doesn't make money, you know what I mean?
No.
So I think that's something we can all learn from. You obviously started out going, what do I need to do the bare minimum to get by? But then also on the side, so then I had maximum amount of time to expose myself to things I do enjoy doing. So What did you learn early on though? What was it you said you made a lot of mistakes? What kind of mistakes did you learn early on?
Well, making the mistakes is one thing, but learning is, I'm going through a period of great developmental growth. I think for the first time I'm growing up.
Awesome, man.
Which is, at 40, almost 43 in July, it's like, come on, really? Like, what took you so long? But thank God it's happening. Thank goodness, because, but then again, aren't you always, if you're truly open to, what's possible, you're always learning, and then the minute you stay stagnant in an idea, it suddenly becomes untrue because the world is in flux. The world is constantly evolving and changing and moving, and you have to move with it. So you can't stay, with the same old ideas that maybe worked at one time. You always have to be open for change. So, what did I learn back in the day? I mean, geez, man, it's a big question. I don't know.
You definitely learn how to make a chicken. I can tell you that much. You learn. I talk about a lot of people. I reckon the people that I have in common with, close to me, those who are close to their parents, particularly their mum. And speaking to you, I feel that you have learned the importance of family, especially with what you go through and gone through, being in the TV and what you have realized the people that are close to you, the people who truly care about you, no matter if you were on the side of the street picking up rubbish versus doing what you actually have done and doing, they don't care.
What are you talking about? That's what I do.
Right.
That's what I do.
Actually, that's exactly what you do, isn't it? You can't only pick up plastic.
But by the way, which is incredible, right? I mean, to find true joy in cleaning up the world's rubbish is the most successful life you could live, I think.
It's powerful.
Because what else is there except to devote your life to making the world, to me, it is the ultimate creative expression to manifest your vision for the world within the world, not like within the box of a movie theater that you hope people will go see, but in the actual world. So you're telling the story of humanity so that everybody involved is part of that story that you're making. It's not an abstraction. It's actually manifest in the world. That's the story of our history is what we're telling every day when we get up. So we're all storytellers. Like, what kind of story are you going to tell?
That's powerful, man. You said you're growing up. Is that something you realized in the past few years, or is that something you've always held close to you? Like, have you always been someone who's close to finding a way to look after the planet?
To me, it was just since I was very young. My mom raised me, telling me stories of I have part Native American blood, and she always identified very much with that lineage, that heritage, and she always used to tell me stories of Native Americans and how they lived in harmony with nature and all that sort of thing. But I didn't grow up in nature. I grew up in a concrete jungle in New York, totally disconnected. But sort of I took those stories and applied them to my experience. And when I would walk out and I'd see plastic on the street and trash and cigarette butts, and then I'd go to a store and they'd be giving you more plastic, and then I'd go to underneath my sink. And if you're a New Yorker, if you're anybody, I think in these days, you'll know that 99% of people, when you open up the cupboard underneath the sink, it's filled with plastic bags that they've accumulated over the years, just stuffed in.
There's a lot of people going right now, oh yeah, that's me.
Yeah, of course, because what are you going to do with them? And you don't think to reuse them, you just keep accumulating them. And it was just illogical to me. Why would we just keep receiving these plastic bags and then stuffing them in there and then they end up in the environment? It just didn't make sense to me. So for me, I was like, let's just, if we created the society that we have today, if the Industrial Revolution gave us the tools and the economic ability to create these societies where, more people are healthier than they were in the past, living longer, quality of life increasing, etc. And yet there's this little glitch. If we're smart enough to create it in the Industrial Revolution, why aren't we smart enough to create the Industrial Evolution? And go to the next stage and actually fix, cure some of the externalities and the issues that we've created in the first place. And I think it's just a very simple logic thing. It makes sense. Okay, perfect. Now let's go and do it. That's the hard part.
It is, because there's 7 billion people in this world who are, obviously having an effect and telling all of them and having an impact. I mean, last year, was it 41 billion straws you helped prevent, along with an awesome team?
No, so we're on track to have eliminated 15 to 20 billion plastic straws from the waste stream.
Which is phenomenal.
It seems like the biggest number ever, right? Done, I did my job, I can die and say that I did that, or I was a part of, helping to manifest that change. But 15 billion represents the smallest fraction of straws that are still in existence.
How many is that? You said it was 1 month of only North America, right?
Was it 1 to 2 months? 6. Math. See, I did drop out of school, didn't I? So it's $500 million straws used every day.
Okay.
In the United States alone.
Okay.
So that's 2 days is a million.
Billion.
A billion.
Yeah.
2 days is a billion.
Carry the zero. Yeah.
So
that's 15 billion a month.
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm right.
Yeah, you're right.
Maddie's really good at his nodding, so I'm good.
Okay, good. Yeah.
So that's one. That's so you're saying that you saved 15 billion last year, or you're on track to?
No. See, here's the beauty of it. It's not just saved it for 1 year, eliminated from the waste stream ad infinitum forever. They're gone. People aren't using them anymore in the same ways. So from now on, every year from now on. Which is, basically 1 month's usage.
Which is scary, but at the same time, it's still an impact. It's a start.
It's an impact, it's the start. Right?
It's exactly right. I love that. I think I'm personally guilty of, in the past, obviously just having straws or having plastic, anything plastic. And it was actually a combination. My little brother is, firstly, I'm a nice person, as is my older brother. My mum has raised us to be, good kids. But he just makes us look bad because he's the guy who walks down the street and if he sees rubbish, he'll pick it up no matter where he is, right? He's you. And so for me, he's inspired me, along with people like yourself, to really stand up and go, we have to make an impact. And so for you came up with campaigns using Lonely Whale as a cornerstone for that, with an awesome team. And now you're looking towards doing that with now single-use plastic bottles, which is really exciting. We are going to touch base on this whole thing, but I want to dive further into a relationship with your mum. She seems like an absolute sweetheart, and she's got her own awesome line of store-bought. Well, how would you prescribe it?
100% organic, premium snacks, dried fruits and nuts, seeds, superfoods, the best in the world. Just the best quality.
And it's called International Harvest.
International Harvest.
And which is awesome, but they also use fully recyclable product containers, correct?
Well, so this is the irony, right? So my mom raised me to eat well, eat healthy. She, in fact, she started International Harvest from the apricot from the Hunza Mountains that she would feed me as a pureed, my first solid food was pureed apricot from the Hunza Mountains because it was a superfood, and and that is what started International Harvest. So basically, the fruits and nuts and snacks that you get at International Harvest are the fruits and nuts and snacks that I grew up with, which is so she basically is giving that love to the world. But she also taught me, as we talked about before, to care about the environment. And yet, some of the challenges of business when it comes to goods that you sell in the stores, you need to have some sort of packaging. And the only viable option right now, it's changing, but for the past 30 years plus, has been plastic. So my mom has always felt guilty about that. Like, how can we fix this? How do we find an alternative? And only until recently have there been no options, except 2 weeks ago we announced that we are part of a new organization called Loop, which is a circular system of reusable, durable packaging. So imagine you order online a delivery for consumer goods, and it comes to you in a durable package that you can, once you use the product, you can send back to Loop. They clean it, return it to the company, International Harvest. We refill it and send it back again for reorder.
That's great.
So there's no trash at all. It's not even just no plastic trash. There's nothing to throw away. It just keeps being reused over and over again. It's like the milkman. It is.
This is a perfect example. Firstly, I feel there's going to be your mum's apricot going to be sold out because everyone's going to want their child to grow up to be Adrian, or at least as good looking and have a fantastic salad like yours. But I think it's the moment where people go, well, what if I have to send it back then? Like, do I have to take the responsibility? Yes, you do, because that's what it takes for us to now look after our planet. And it's not a hard thing to then, you are doing good by doing one extra thing, like by sending something off. And that's what we have to now put into our life, is the responsibility we have towards this planet. And I think that is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, I think the next stage in our growth as a society, as an industrialized society, is not just convenience, but actually responsibility, like you said, and participation. Because what convenience does is it takes us out of the game. It makes us passive. It makes us weaker. But we have to, I think, get back in now and start being a part of it. It's not just about like getting your Postmates and watching TV and playing video games, sitting on the couch, and vegging out until you die. No, get out and participate in the world, and the world is needing your energy to do something.
That's awesome. Yeah, 100%. Well, I'm going to hear more about Lonely Mail. We're going to cook up some crumble right after we get back from hearing from one of our awesome sponsors.
Yo.
All right, we're back. And listeners, as you can tell, this is Adrian chopping away with his fantastic knife skills. Look at him go, super quick and fast. I kid, he's actually faster. Mate, so let's give the audience a bit of a backstory. So you've seen a video of me doing apple crumble, and so you were like, I'm going to smash it out for some guests. And then you, as you should have, you claimed that was your recipe, right? Didn't you?
Well, technically it was.
Yeah, 100%. Slight variations, it 100% was.
You don't teach that trick, do you?
No.
Take my recipes, change one thing, and call it your own.
Oh man, I've quoted you in movies so many times, and people have laughed at it. So I think I will just, for every Entourage quote I've said, I'd say that's actually my first one.
True.
100%. I think it's a trade-off. How are you? I know you can cook. So do you want to chop up an apple, man?
I can do that. Yeah.
Just come around here. So the trick to this, guys, I'm just cutting up 3 beautiful apples. So I think one of the tips to making the perfect apple crumble is choosing the right apple. I love a Granny Smith tart.
You, in the video, as I recall, you didn't just use Granny Smith, you used Granny Smith and
Nashi.
A red, like a more sweet apple,
exactly.
Which I thought was good advice, and I actually followed that advice.
You did?
Great artist steal.
I'm learning, bro. So, as Adrian just alluded to, variety of apples is great. My dad is massive on tart. He loves tart, loves lemony kind of things. So we'd always overdose on. Oh, check out the knuckle action. So how do I describe this? He's got the claw as if he was watching Liar Liar. And mate, that is actually really impressive.
This knife is a little tiny for me.
Actually, you do
My
have
big
some
burly
massive knives,
hands.
bro. Wow. Do you want a job?
You know I don't like to work, man. Come on.
Mate, so whilst you're chopping away, you got these beautiful apples, just really as small as possible, and that will allow you to get as much beautiful flavour out of those apples, make it a real true apple crumble. And apple crumble is like one of the easiest things you can make for dessert. I'm chewing, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed? I'm chewing as I'm speaking.
What is this from sort of, are you going to like break up the sugars and spit it into the...
Yeah, wow, yeah, break down the carbohydrates. Or actually, Mum's going to listen to this and just be like, Daniel!
Like, mama bird.
Mama bird. But yeah, so this is a great way just to make a nice simple sauce, then put a crumble over the top. This crumble here, this little granola inspired by, little international harvest, right?
Yeah, of course.
So that's beautiful, man. Thank you. So into the pot, we'll add some coconut oil. Get a nice little, caramelization on that. Do you work with coconut oil a lot?
I have, yeah. My mom has coconut oil.
Oh yeah, of course she does.
You know what I love about the apple crumble as a concept? It's a great dessert, but it's also a great morning on the go snack too. 100%. And you just have it in the fridge, and especially if you don't use too much sugar or added sugar, then it's just fruits and little granola and just. Huh? So you make a lot of it.
Make a big batch.
Yeah.
And then you just can dish it out to anyone, or if you want to share it with people.
Have bites all day. That's how I like to
put it in like a mason jar, dude, and then you can just start little travelers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, now, okay, so we talked earlier about bananas.
I was impressed by this.
Okay, so team, we're going to use bananas to help sweeten our base. All we have are the bananas themselves. You can mash it by getting a mix master. So if you work with cakes, or even if you don't, get a beautiful whisk attachment to your mix master, whip it, and you get this beautiful paste. And that can be a sauce in itself, or you can use it to sweeten anything you have. Obviously, you can have maple syrup and those kind of things as well, but we're just going to go with the bananas today. So as we do this, let's talk through a lot about what people can currently do. There's obviously the bigger things that we can do, like you work a lot with UN and those kind of things and whatnot. But what can people who are listening right now? What's one thing they can all do? I know there's the obvious things, but maybe something that's not so obvious.
I've been doing this for a long time, and many people have asked, like, what can you do? What's the top 5 things? Okay. Top 10? I always shy away from them because what it does is it limits what's possible. We all know, you do a Google search of what can I do to help the environment, and there's like a million lists.
Sure.
The most important thing you can do is show up for your own imagination and start to find your own way of engaging with the world so that you can be part of the solution. You can come up with your own ideas. And to me, that's an evergreen. It's sort of like, teach a man to fish or teach a person to fish mentality. Instead of giving them the fish and giving them the list of prescription, what to do, what happens then is people end up just doing it and then they stop. But if it's part of your own, if it comes from within, it'll be always in motion, always participate, always giving, always manifesting in some ways.
That's a great kind of takeaway for anyone in anything, really. Like if you're following, you never kind of empowered internally. But to teach empowerment makes you make the decision from yourself. Yeah. So like you walking down the street being told to pick up the rubbish versus you naturally going, I want to pick up the rubbish. Mm-hmm. 2 different situations. And that can be applied with work, it can be applied with anything that we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing I'd say is follow the lessons of the lonely whale.
Which are?
Well, one of them is, the whales are extremely social creatures. Huh. They spend their whole lives in pods. They spend their whole lives with their family. So they're not unlike us. They're extremely social. They're highly sentient, intelligent creatures. And so find a pod, find a community. Even if it's just one other person, connect with someone and do this work together, because you can bounce ideas off each other, synthesize them, challenge each other, hold each other accountable, and it's more fun when you're doing it with your friends.
Oh, 100%.
Because then it becomes a lifestyle, not just a chore.
Exactly right. And is this where the Lonely Whale came from, the concept, the brand, and I guess this organization itself?
Yeah, so Lonely Whale initially was founded with the principle of connecting people and bonding them with the ocean. So we believe that you can't care if you don't connect. And if you don't care, then you won't want to do anything. Then we're going to be working twice as hard to get people to do something when they just don't care. But the minute people care, they're asking us, like, how can I help? They want to do something. So first and foremost, through connection, we care, and then we want to do something. And by the way, it's not a mistake that this whale is called Lonely Whale, and the organization is called Lonely Whale, because fundamentally, the one thing that I believe debilitates a human being is fear and loneliness. When you're lonely, when you're disconnected, you end up causing all kinds of trouble. So how do you solve for that loneliness? You connect with each other, you become part of a community, you connect with your purpose, you go out and you give back, you create value for your community. And that's when, I believe it's directly related. The loneliness epidemic, environmental destruction, consumerism, being checked out, like all of these things are interrelated. So we need to solve it holistically altogether. Can't just do it cosmetically, like, oh, we have to create a bunch of laws to make people do the right thing. We need less laws and more personal motivation, like people who are living so that we don't actually have to make the laws.
Adrian, like, where you're talking right now, I know you said that you're going through a bit right now and you kind of like feel like you're becoming an adult. Man, what you're talking about right now is like absolutely game changing. You can be as many entourage shows and whatever you want, but this is the stuff that actually matters. And I feel like listening to you right now, you should like run for mayor or something, because you're just like so passionate behind it. It's so cool, dude.
I don't think there's a key big enough to lock the closet to keep all of those skeletons out of my campaign.
We've talked about that a bit, haven't we? Not to segue for too long, but just bring us back over here. We've got this beautiful pot smelling. You smell that nutty sweetness.
Yeah.
That's from the coconut oil and the bananas coming together.
Yeah, it's great.
Really natural. So we're just going to coat this a little bit. And so guys, just listening in, we want to make sure with the apple, we're going to get every little bit coated with the coconut oil. And if you want to see this, just head to the YouTube channel, because you're getting a little dark amberness. But what you don't want to lose, you don't want to lose the moisture. So once you feel like the banana's been mashed nicely and the apples have got a nice little coating of the oil and it's becoming quite a little, I guess glossy, just put a lid on. And what that's going to do is it's going to retain all that moisture and make sure that it stays inside and you don't lose any further. Because we want that sauciness to our apple sauce.
Yeah.
So, my man. All right, so Lonely Whale's doing a couple of things. Tonight we've got a big night.
Yeah, tonight's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun, right? We yesterday, June 4th, this podcast will come out in a couple of weeks, but yesterday, which was June 4th, was the launch of a new campaign. You want to talk about that a little bit?
So we really do believe that not any one person can take the weight of the world on their shoulders. So, good luck. I mean, you don't have to save the world. This is, I think, one of the issues with modern environmentalists is they tend to get a little bit preachy, a little bit arrogant, because I think they really truly they care, first of all, but they really believe that they have the answer because they've had a revelation about the world and about the environment. And so they try and tell everybody how to do things or what to do. But really, not any one person has all the answers. We need as many solutions as there are human beings on the planet, because the problem we're in is a manifestation of 8 billion people living. So we decided that we were going to do something that was extremely simple and accessible, and not try and do everything all at once, so that the maximum number of people could actually participate. So when we looked at the 10 million tons of plastic that was making its way into the ocean every year, it's like, how do you tackle that? It's a huge number. And when you think about it, it becomes sort of overwhelming and abstract. And like, how do you tackle that? And we boiled it down to a single unit of measure, the single-use plastic straw. And we said, we're going to do something that's measurable, accessible to as many people, and actionable, that anybody can do at any given moment. And I think it worked because, yes, people said, well, the straws are irrelevant. They're so tiny. What does it matter? Well, if it doesn't matter, then just don't do it. But people were like, oh, thinking about it. And they're like, well, what about the cup and the lid? I'm like, well, yeah, look at that. Now you're thinking. So instead of telling them, like, we just made one small suggestion and people started to think about the larger problem on their own as they were able. So the single-use plastic straw was the first step, sort of that tiny little inch forward. And now we're taking that next step. And the next step is single-use plastic water bottles.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and arguably not a tiny step.
Definitely not, man.
But incremental in certain, because once you've gotten your straws down, good. Now take the next step and do plastic water bottles. If you do nothing else, do straws, and now we're doing water bottles. But first do straws.
Definitely do straws. I'm blown away actually by, I think it's actually a remarkable campaign and marketing idea, because you're building impact, you're targeting someone to then impact them in one way that also tells a story and represents so much more. So with the straws, if they're affected by straws and they go, fuck, I got to do something about this, then why would they not do everything else? You know what I mean? I effectively look at, if I'm doing straws and I'm still holding onto plastic anything, I'm failing, because I'm not standing for what that whole possibility of this whole straw in the first place stood for. And what the actual problem, so what do straws do in the marine? So like for the obvious kind of, answer, what do they do?
Well, all plastic ends up in the environment and starts to break down. It doesn't biodegrade, not for 1,000 years, but it starts to break down into smaller and smaller pieces. It gets weak, the bonds break apart, but it remains small, tiny pieces of plastic known as microplastic. And these microplastics aren't necessarily visible. Some of them are. They get tinier and tinier until you can't see them, and they're, you can only see them in a microscope sometimes. So what happens is it becomes just a pervasive, toxic sprinkle. I mean, we're cooking, right? It's like sprinkling salt. It disappears, right? But you still taste it. So there was a study that people throughout a year ingest thousands of pieces of plastic in their body from eating just the food that you get every day, particularly seafood. So straws are tiny, and they're one step closer to breaking down and becoming smaller. And the biggest issue with straws is they're not recyclable. Our modern day recycling centers, and by the way, I highly recommend visiting your local recycling center, and if you call them, they will let you come and tour and watch what they're doing.
How many did you say you've been to? You said about last week.
Four so far.
That's awesome.
And I mean, it's a good time. It is. It's like totally Mr. Rogers, in real time.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it's you see the complex system of pulleys and conveyor belts, and then magnets that are separating the metals. It's very neat. But you learn the reason why straws are hard to recycle is because they fall through the sorting system, and so they end up just getting thrown away. They're also often a lower grade quality of plastic, so there's not much use in the recycling system anyway, because it's a cheaper plastic that can't be upcycled very well. And then once they end up in the environment, of course, it just contributes to that 10 million tons in the ocean or in wildlife. Fish are eating these plastics. Sometimes the whole straw or a bag you've seen the video, gets lodged in orifices of marine wildlife or chokes them. And one of the most horrible things is marine birds will go out to forage for food in the ocean to feed their kids, their newborn babies, and they'll often collect a bunch of plastic and feed it to their babies. And it's heartbreaking and horrible, but it's all very preventable. So that's straws.
Jeez. That's not to mention plastic water bottles.
Well,
plastic containers, plastic.
Yes, I know. Just straws. If you can
Straws.
do straws, then go into the next step, and we'll do plastic water bottles. And then, I mean, there's a lot to do. That's why we got to get started. But I do really firmly believe you got to give yourself a break, because you can get overwhelmed very easily. And we don't need a few crazy environmentalists chaining themselves to, tankers. We need a full global-wide movement of people to make small changes, just enough. We need 8 billion people participating, not just a few, and we need you for your whole life. We need a sustained lifestyle change. And that means we need your energy to last a lifetime. So if you get too overwhelmed and you start taking on all the tragedy of the world, you're going to shut down. And that we can't have that, because we need your energy forever for your whole life.
Yeah, no, that's a big takeaway. It's a huge takeaway. And events like tonight, and I guess what Lonely Whale is continuing to do is represent that. So you've got the Museum of Plastic, that's tonight, isn't it? So tell me about this night. We're push balling out and going straight there. So what is it? So
we've launched Hydrate Like, which is our new campaign, and we're asking people to question how they hydrate. So do you hydrate like a person who doesn't care about the environment, or do you hydrate like you love Mother Earth, like you care, like you give a damn? And so we're asking people to look at what vessels they use to consume water, and if it's plastic, we're asking you to stop and use alternatives. And there are so many alternatives. There are reusable water bottles. There's aluminum, if disposable, if you really have to, that can be recycled. Aluminum is infinitely recyclable. It can be used over and over again without losing its chemical, like its fundamental bonds. I mean, look. Let me show you.
So, just so you know, Adrian went over to our tap and turned the faucet on and used his hands as a cup.
There are so many options. You can do so many different use so many alternatives, but just don't use single-use plastic, because the plastic industry, by the way, if we want to get into this,
let's do it.
They really are. I mean, you buy very cheap, inexpensive plastic water bottles, but those costs you end up paying later. So you may buy a really inexpensive water bottle today, but who's paying the cost of having to clean up those water bottles in the environment? Taxpayers. We do. You pay for it every time you go to the beach and you get hit in the head when you're swimming in the ocean by a plastic water bottle. You pay when you're eating the plastic that ends up in your seafood. You pay when the oceans are starting to become a chemical soup of plastic. So we have to really think beyond the immediate cost of something and really start to think of the long-term cost of doing the wrong thing.
Man, that's huge. I didn't even think of that. Like, I'm not personally motivated by the cost on us. I'm motivated by what it does to the planet. But for some people, that's what's going to be, right?
Certainly.
That's crazy to think that. And actually, can you confirm this for me? New York's recycle situation. Now, I've been told that sometimes for us with Charlie Street, they won't even go, even though we put in a recycling situation, the respective bags, we won't actually get it recycled, because they can make the decision on whether they take it there, right?
Yeah, I mean, certainly we have a lot of need for infrastructure and systems improvement. But I don't want it to make you cynical.
Yeah, right.
A lot of people will find any excuse to give up and not do anything, and they'll say, well, it doesn't get recycled anyway, or the system's broken, or what does it matter, we're all going to die. So a lot of people go down that road.
Sure.
It's true. I mean, there's a lot of problems, a lot of issues, but guess what? This is your city. It's your world, and I'm doing straws, and now I'm doing single-use plastic water bottles. Why don't you guys, who's listening, take on local municipalities, take on recycling systems. There's so much work to be done. We can all find a little place for us to do a little bit better. And I'll help you. I mean, I like I said, I love those recycling systems, but they really want to recycle. They want your materials. They want to recycle, but there's also a lot of factors that prevent them from actually staying afloat financially. the global markets of recycled material. China stopped buying our trash.
Yeah.
So now that we have to keep and retain all of our recyclable materials, now it's actually an opportunity. So all you young entrepreneurs out there, we need facilities that can take plastic and upcycle it and recycle it and make new things. So there's another thing you can do. There's so many, this is a new industry of making the world a better place. And like I said, industrial evolution, there's so much opportunity, financial opportunity. And so, yeah, let's go.
Let's do it. All right. Well, mate, on that note, we're going to go into our break in a second. We're going to taste and play out this beautiful apple crumble. But going back to what you first said about finding the smallest amount of time to get by to then be able to do what you love, listen to the way you're talking right now. I'm not saying you're only just getting by, but with what you're doing, you've created what you... if you haven't realised it yet, I'm sure you have. This is what you love, and this is what I feel you were truly born to be. Mm-hmm. You did Entourage, you did all those things, you created a profile, but the reason why that profile was created was for you to now be on that, I guess, guidance. I don't want to put you as a figurehead and put too much pressure on you, but someone who's really representing what we truly should be doing. And you're using your profile for the greater good, and you are really good at cutting up apples. So, man, let's head to a break, and we'll come back and start tasting our phenomenal crumble.
Yeah, thanks, man.
How's your cinnamon bay effort? Salt Bay?
No, yeah, I don't. No.
You know Salt Bay, right?
I know Old Bay.
You know Old Bay? Oh, the spice mix?
Yeah.
Okay, Cinnamon Bay, or Salt Bay, is the guy who went and did this. Did this and flex his muscle and drop the salt.
Oh,
you seen that before?
No, I did, yeah.
No, now you have. Okay, can you do the same for cinnamon? So over there you got some cinnamon right next to the granola that you've been chewing on.
I like to do the...
Oh, a little flick of the wrist. Don't know if it actually went in, but it's fantastic. So just going to turn that now, guys. So once you've made your little, I guess, compote, which has got that really tart caramel-like nature, add it to any pan, any bowl, whatever you wish. And then you kind of just layer that out. And you can have that, you can pour it into a container, put it aside, as Adrian said, put it into a mason jar and have it in bulk. And then you have it for the rest of the week. And then you just top it off with International Harvest Mama's granola.
Yeah.
What's your mum's name again, my man?
Caress.
Caress's Beautiful Granola. That's a great name, actually.
Stop.
He's like,
try going through puberty with a mom's name like that.
How many jokes did you cop?
Yeah, a couple.
Okay. We're going to add in some walnuts too, man. So you get the coconut, just get your sprinkle on over the top. And as you do that, we're going to play a little quickfire round. I do this with every single guest. So starting off, if you were a food, a meal, an ingredient, what would you be and why?
If I was a food, a meal, or an ingredient.
Finish this bit off. Yeah, hit me out. What do you got?
I'm really bad with these things. What would I be?
I'll give you some time to think about it. I'll tell you what mine was.
This is rapid. This is supposed to be rapid, I know.
That's all right. Yeah, rapid fire.
Suddenly.
Dude, you've been on Jimmy Kimmel and stuff, right? He gives you some pretty tough times.
Yeah. Was I in Kimmel? Yeah, I was in Kimmel. Fallon. Yeah.
He's funny, right?
I like Fallon.
Yeah, he's funny. He's a good
yeah, I like Kimmel too.
Yeah. Okay, we'll come back to that.
No. Let's go. Okay, if I was going to be a food, I would be an avocado.
Why? That's awesome, but why?
Healthy fats, everybody loves them.
That's exactly right.
They make guacamole.
Great toss of the salad, all the good things. You have what's inside? They have a beautiful heart. I'm going to drop that one in. Oh. Don, can you superimpose a beautiful little love heart right here when we got that to YouTube? Thanks, bro. Okay. Mate, morning routine. What do you do? Do you have one?
As of late, I've started a meditation.
Nice.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I do about 15 minutes.
Nice.
With a little writing.
Yep. Is it just like a time for you to be, have you found it being very productive for the day or?
Certainly something that I've lacked for the past 20 years is being grounded.
Sure.
And, allows me to sort of sputter off into, too many ideas and too much in my head. And so I need to situate myself a little bit more.
Gotcha.
So I can make better choices.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. That's always a good one. I find meditation has really helped me. Kind of like I always say, mindfulness meditation is something that helps your brain relax, because people like yourself and myself are always so on. We never let it relax, you know?
Absolutely.
All right. Okay. And one other one I always talk about is controlling the controllable. Okay. So how does Adrian control the controllable? I, for example, when I go on a plane, I always make something beforehand, because I always make sure that I'm packing something, because I know the meals aren't necessarily going to be what I want. So throughout your day, do you do anything that helps you control the controllable? Do you leave with maybe a water bottle that's not plastic or something like that?
Well, yes, I certainly do. I have. Hold on. Can?
Yeah, of course. Get it out.
This is for the YouTube audience.
Yeah, everything. Yeah.
You can describe it.
Okay. What do you got for me?
This is what I do.
Adrian's strongly hobbling over to his jacket and pulling off. What do we have here? A beautiful red. What's this?
Carabiners.
Wow.
I've gotten into rock climbing as of late, but it's not just for rock climbers. This is for all of your reusable water bottles when you travel. There you go.
That is amazing. So, Adrian, you walk around, you control the controllable, making sure you always have water on you. You have no choice to always have water on you.
That's right, and you can put them on your backpack, hanging up. When I travel, actually, I have two. One for water, one for coffee, because I love coffee.
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah.
Dude, that's a really good way to stay hydrated.
Carabiners.
100%. Yeah, it's not even the bottle. It's a carabiner. Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. My man. Okay, so where can we hear more about Lonely Whale? Where do we head to?
So you can go to lonelywhale.org.
Yeah.
You can go to @lonelywhale on all the social channels.
Yeah.
And more recently, you can go to hydratelike.com.
Fantastic.
To check out the new campaign and let us know how you hydrate.
Sure. Let us know on Instagram as well. You can obviously... do I even have to use your Instagram? Because I know everyone's going to know who you are, right? So what is your Instagram, Adrian?
Well, my Instagram is Adrian Grenier, @Adrian Grenier.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you can go to mine and then just follow all the rest.
Yeah, 100%.
Of course, @Pip the Pup as well.
Oh, this is fantastic. So we were at a dinner the other night. I reckon Pip the Pup, if Pip the Pup does not get a few more thousand followers from this, I'll be quite frustrated. So
yes.
Pip the Pup's a fantastic Instagrammer, but really cute dog.
Yes.
Right? Is it yours?
Pip the Pup is my dog, and follow @Pip the Pup. Do yourself a favor. Do her a favor. She deserves it.
She's great.
Yeah.
How old is she?
About 5 years old. She's a rescue from Long Island.
Fantastic.
And I love her.
Fantastic. And mate, so the only thing is as you said, if there's gonna do one thing, it would be stop using single-use plastic straws.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna do anything else, stop using single-use water bottles.
That's right.
And tonight we're going to have a good time at the Museum of Plastic.
That's correct,
So what are we seeing tonight?
So tonight is going to be, we've seen a lot of hoopla around the Museum of Ice Cream. Everybody's gone. It's been a huge success around the country. And so we're paying a little homage to that trend to make a Museum of Plastic to show the people. It's an experiential event. Space where you go through and you get a little brief history of plastic water bottles, which, by the way, are only about 30 years old.
What?
Yeah, before the 90s, there were no plastic water bottles.
What did you guys use?
Well, what us guys?
Yeah, you're like 30, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
On the nose?
We used other things. We were hydrated.
Okay.
We were.
You carried carabiners around everywhere.
I was a kid, so I think my mom was probably carrying them around for me. But
nice.
We survived and did not die of dehydration. So it's possible. So you see a brief history of the plastic water bottle, and there's a lot of just fun experiences that you can participate in, interact with, and it's only up for. Oh, I think it's gone now.
Well, yeah, it would be gone by now,
it's
wouldn't
gone.
it?
You missed it.
You missed it. You have to follow along at hydratelike.org or .com?
Hydratelike.com.
.com? Or follow...
is it .com?
Well, here we go.
Shoot.
Well, just follow Lonely Whale.
Yeah.
You can follow Adrian and obviously Pip the Pup as well.
And who knows, it could have been so popular tonight
that it's back this weekend.
That we needed to, extend the Museum of Plastic for the next several months. We don't know.
You never know. Mm-mm. These things are possible. You're just double checking that the figures right.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, man, thanks for coming on today, bro. We got to jet off to an epic event. But no doubt, biggest thing for today, guys, is on a business side, you took away, from a front perspective, everyone thought you were an actor, but you're actually more than that, much more than that. Not that there's anything wrong with being an actor, but you're using your profile for the greater good. And even though you finished school thinking it wasn't really your passion, you used it to help you provide the opportunity to do it now, which is really cool, man. It's passionate.
Yeah.
It's passionate. So, dude, let's go hang out at this epic museum of plastic and, of course, smash some of Cress's epic crumble, right?
Yum.
Down.
Yes.
Guys, make sure you subscribe. If you like this, obviously leave a review if you can. Adrian looks good with a salad like that. I do okay. So make sure you guys subscribe, share with your friends, tag us on Insta Story that you listen to this. And of course, if you have anything to leave a comment, suggestions, oh yeah, you like it? Ball on. And make sure you hit up this apple crumble because it's Adrian approved. Thanks, team.